What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow, a beautiful Saturday here. And today we are going to be talking about Survivor Season 37, doing our boot list. So basically trying to guess where every single person on David versus Goliath is going to fall in the actual show. So my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and Rachel and I were talking before we started filming about how this was hard to do. I feel like a lot of these people were kind of generic. I put for someone, I was like, very generic person. He could go anywhere on this list. So this is really hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult because they didn't post these little videos of the people, so we really don't have anything that we know about their personality, the way they act, the way they come off to other people, because I think the videos are the really helpful part. I've seen Instagram posting the stupid things, but then I'm like, I'm not watching videos on Instagram. That's not the way it works. So have not watched any of those things. And yeah, it's really hard. It's all basically guessing because we're not spoilering. So when I was going through, I sort of split it up into like early, middle, and like late kind of boots. So like people I think that will go early, and then I put them in the first, second, third boot order after like I clumped them as like early boots kind of thing.
Yeah, I just kind of went randomly. I was like, this might work, this might not. My boot lists are never accurate, so why be too upset about it?
I think it's accurate with like a plus or minus 3 radius. I think, we can sort of guess the general placement, but maybe not the exact number.
I'm accurate to plus or minus 20, so...
True, that's the way to do them, all inclusive. Do you want to start with your first boot of Survivor Season 37, David versus Goliath?
I will start with my first boot of Survivor Season 37, David versus Goliath. I thought that the Davids were going to lose first just because in general they seem to have a lot less muscle on them, and I'm not sure they could do well at a puzzle or whatever. So I think that Elizabeth is going to go first just because she's an older woman on this tribe, and we've talked about sexism in Survivor and how women seem to be disproportionately voted off first. So
interesting. I had similar thought about David's going to tribal council first. I put the David tribe going to council first and second, so the next boot as well. But yeah, I don't know, for Elizabeth, I think I'll talk about her with my second boot of this, but I don't know. I think she could fit in with the more country southern people on the tribe. So maybe, but then I sort of forgot about her, and then I had to place her somewhere after I forgot about her. So I have her making almost the merge. But yeah, my first boot, I said Lursa from the David tribe. I think, because the David's tribe seems like it's less physically good as the Goliath tribe, obviously, I think they would want to vote out a smaller female at the beginning. So I was between Lursa and Jessica, the 19-year-old, but then I felt like maybe Jessica is quieter because she is younger. She's just going to try to fit in with everyone, whereas Lursa might be more outspoken and then be the first boot off the season.
That is interesting because I had Lursa going a little bit later in the season, but I also thought that she was one of the potential people that could go first.
Yeah, so my second boot, like I said, I think David's going back-to-back tribal, and then I'm saying Jessica is going home second, so the 19-year-old, and I felt like they would probably want to vote out another female. Since David's going back-to-back tribal, probably another female or someone who's annoying or maybe doesn't fit in, maybe someone like Christian or something. But for some reason, I feel like the nerdy dudes are always well-liked and endearing and not threatening to people, so I don't think Christian's going home. And then I was between Jessica and Elizabeth, and then I don't know, I just felt like Elizabeth could fit in because the tribe seems older, whereas Jessica's small female doesn't really have that many life experiences. I don't really see how she's going to fit in with a tribe who's not around her age, like what is she going to talk about with these people? And yes, maybe she'd be a good like goatee girl to take around because she's not really going to think for herself maybe, but like I don't know, I wouldn't want to keep dead weight around.
Yeah, neither would I, but I also said that the Davids were going to go to tribal council again, and I kind of had the same rationale as you did for picking my second boot, and that it was going to be someone who doesn't really like fit in. And I said that B was going to be voted off just because, to me at least, she seems more like a Goliath than a David, just like with her story being an MMA fighter and everything. And so I feel like a lot of people won't be able to relate to her. And so she'll be voted off, even though she's pretty strong, just because like she can't connect with her tribe.
Yeah, that's interesting because I had B also going home early and a few votes from now. Yeah, because she's a female and a minority, so the odds aren't even in her favor to begin with. So, I was thinking at 18 they would split into 3 tribes because that's like a format that we've been seeing recently, and especially with last season with Ghost Island, how the people were so steadfast in their ways. I feel like producers maybe will want to try to split them up more to not have it so based solely on tribal lines, and then we have another pagonging. So I was thinking tribe swap into 3 tribes, and then it got really hard because everything is random now. We don't know where these people are landing or what tribe's going to lose, X, Y, Z, all that jazz. But based on numbers, if we do have 2 Davids going home in the first 2 tribals, and Alyssa and I both do, that means the tribes probably are going to be 3-3, 3-3, and then a 4-2 with a Goliath in the majority. And I feel like the tribes usually end up pretty even like that. We've never really seen a 5-1 when it's 6-6-6, but could happen. I feel like it's all semi sort of like rigged when they pick the little baggies. So I think it's going to be pretty even. But yeah, I think Goliath will have a little bit of an upper hand.
I also think that. And I also said that they were going to be splitting into 3 tribes. So, So for my 18th place person, the third boot, I kind of relied on, I'm not sure whether or not you call it spoilery, just because I feel like everyone's heard it, but the fact that Alec like leaked pictures from the location or whatever, I feel like he has to go early in like the boot order. Otherwise he wouldn't risk like breaking his contract and forfeiting like his prize money or anything. So I said that Alec was going to go 18th.
Oh, that's really interesting. I had him going like right at the merge because I don't know, I felt like he had to make it semi-far if he was like cocky enough to want to post pictures and stuff, and he and Kara would have to form some kind of relationship, but maybe they do end up on the split tribes and then they become super good friends from that. But yeah, I don't know.
The thing is, I feel like once you make the merge, the amount of money that you like make from your contract for like appearing or whatever is much, much higher. So it's like, I still wouldn't throw away like $2,500, but I'd be even more reluctant to throw away like $10,000. So
That's true. Maybe they're just really not smart.
that is
Who
also
knows?
true.
My third boot, I had Natalia from the Goliath tribe. I don't know. This was difficult because I feel like I didn't want to just keep having Davids get voted out, but even when it is a 3-3, they could vote another David out. So this is really like not really by placement, but by like where I think they would probably end up in the show. So like Natalia would probably go home like semi early, might not be the third boot off the season or whatever based on numbers, because I feel like to break a 3-3 and then that kind of stuff and get yourself voted out, people must not like you because it's all based on numbers, and or they don't think that they can work with you in the future. And maybe Natalia and Natalie end up on the same tribe at the tribe swap, so she gets voted out, and you can't have that name double. So Natalie votes Natalia out early in the game. I just don't see Natalia making it far. That's the point.
I also had the Natalie versus Natalia like competition as the reason Natalia gets voted out, but I didn't have her voted out until later. So that was interesting.
Is interesting. My fourth boot, I have B from the David tribe, similar to what Alyssa said for her getting voted out second. I think, it's all based on the numbers, and especially with a 3-3. I don't know. I feel like the Davids are more willing to flip on their people and go with the Goliathuses. I mean, why wouldn't you? Especially if they are promising you safety kind of stuff. And you don't want to go to rocks at a freaking tribal council 4 episodes into the show. And I don't know. I think B was recruited, so she might not know the game that well. So there's that. And she's female and minority. And we know it's just not going to work out because people have biases.
Yes, they do. For my fourth boot, I was kind of relying on like Alec and Kara being close in order to like make the leak together. So I said that Alec and Kara ended up on the same tribe, and their tribe loses twice in a row, and Kara gets voted out after Alec.
Interesting. I had that like semi-exact thing happening, but later in the line.
Interesting.
So we'll see if they make it pre-merge or merge.
Yes.
Yeah, my fifth and sixth. Fifth, I have Mike from Goliath. I don't know. I just like don't see him making the merge, even though I feel like he could be a fan favorite. Seems like a really cool dude, super experienced in his life. But based on his like physical attributes, I don't really think he contributes much to the tribe. Maybe he's the comedic relief or whatever, but I don't know. I think people will like Christian more than Mike, and even if they aren't on the same tribe, they're going to fight for like that kind of archetype. And I don't know. I feel like Mike falls in that regard and Christian gets further. But yeah, I just don't see Mike contributing much to the tribe that will get him further, especially in 6-person tribes. You need everyone to be strong or else you're going to lose all the challenges.
Yeah. And you had Mike as your fifth boot?
Fifth. Yeah.
Okay.
Fifth boot.
I also had Mike as the fifth boot, basically for the same reason. Like, he's not very physically strong, and, you got to be strong in order to make it to the merge, I feel like.
Yeah. Sixth boot is right before, I think at 14, they're going to go back into 2 tribes. So this is right before they split back into 2 tribes from 3. This was just like, whatever. I was not really sure. I put Davy from the David tribe. And I don't know. I feel like in his preseason stuff, he just seemed really cocky about his social media things. And he's from the David tribe originally. So numbers are already against him going into this like 3 tribe swap. So I just feel like I don't see Davy getting that far, whether he goes out right before the 7-7 switch or earlier. I just see him going home at this point in the game, like before the pre-merge boots. This is like middle early boots that go home.
That's interesting because like I also kind of had the same like rationale for like why Davy would go home, but I ended up putting him much later just because of like the way I thought things would go. So that's interesting.
Who was your sixth?
My sixth place was Alyssa, just because I feel like she's one of those people, like, you either like her or you don't like her. So I feel like if she got put into a tribe and her tribe, like, didn't like her, then she could be voted out really easily. So that was my thinking.
Yeah, I feel like we have sort of similar bottom 7, I guess, if it's called that, pre-merge boots. And then next, I was thinking at 14, they would switch back into 2 tribes. And so the numbers, if for me, it would be 6 on the David tribe, 8 people left on the Goliath tribe. So it would probably be a 4-3 split on both tribes, meaning that the Goliaths would have majority over the Davids come the switch. And then it's 2 votes, I'm thinking, then a merge at 12. So 7th boot. I mean, this was hard because I was like, if the Goliaths go into this merge with a majority, how are they? I put 2 Goliaths for my 7th and 8th boot before the merge, but then it was hard because then you're going into the merge 6-6. So I don't necessarily see that happening, but I just feel like these 2 people weren't making the merge and they just happened to be on the Goliath team. So hopefully this season isn't so like steadfast in the made up names that they have for them. But 7th boot, I had Allison from Goliath. I just don't see her making the merge. I feel like, I don't know, hopefully she's not trying to be funny in her preseason stuff. It seemed like she was trying too hard. And yeah, I just like don't see her making the merge.
That is interesting. For my 7th place, I had Christian just because I feel like he's one of those people where like he'll try to be funny and it might work for a little while, but then people start getting annoyed with him because he's not actually funny. So
Aww.
also he's like not that strong and you need to be strong and stuff. I understand how to play Survivor.
Dang, I have Christian making it further in the game, so I guess maybe we have our Mikes and Christians flip-flopped.
I mean, I also already had Mike going out, so.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yikes. Well, you voted out both of the nerdy dudes. Sad. My 8th place boot, I had Jeremy from Goliath also. I feel like right before the merge, you definitely want to vote out someone strong. And I feel like Jeremy seems maybe like the kind of person that won't want to stay tribal lines or would be willing to flip on his alliance. So that would make him a target to go home. But then it makes the Goliath and David original tribal lines down to a 6-6 heading into the merge, which I'm not so sure about. But yeah, I feel like Jeremy would be a good person to vote out right before the merge because he's physically strong.
That is interesting. Because I had someone strong being voted out right after the merge, but a different strong person. So, interesting. For my 8th place, or 8th boot, which is 13th place, I think. Math. I can do that. I had Natalia just because I thought it was kind of going to be like a Chris versus Dominic thing that they had last season, where like for the whole pre-merge, all they did was talk about like Chris versus Dominic. And then like, except for it's going to be Natalie versus Natalia. And then right before the merge is when they finally like have their head-to-head battle and Natalie votes out Natalia.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I feel like, I don't know, Natalia doesn't seem maybe like, she seems quiet and reserved. So I don't know if like the Chris Dom, they like both have that kind of personality that is like, so then it makes them want to have that kind of feud. I feel like Natalie is more silent killer and Natalia's just more quiet.
I don't know. I still think there's going to be some name envy. So
yeah, 100% name envy. We both think Natalia's going home before Natalie. So definitely some of that there. Going into the mergeroo at 12, I have my Queen of Ponderosa. This was, I don't know, I don't really see her maybe as a Queen of Ponderosa kind of thing, but I put Elizabeth from David. I think based on tribal lines, you want to have the upper hand in numbers, technically. I think with this right now, I have Elizabeth, Carl, Christian, Gabby, and Nick and Pat from the David's tribe. And then I have Alec, Kara, Johnny, Mundo, Angelina, Dan, and Natalie from the Goliath's tribe. I think in a situation like this, I think the Goliath's team, especially with this 6, is so strong and physically like good. They have such powerhouse players, and that's the kind of people I want to see. So I feel like someone like Pat would flip on his David people and go work with the Goliath tribe to not have a 6-6 tie come the merge. So I mean, yeah, I feel like who wouldn't want to work with the Goliaths? They just seem cooler, but like, I don't know. Elizabeth is physical. She's more threatening, I feel like, than Christian, Gabby, Nick. So I would vote Elizabeth out of those 4. So that's why she's going home.
That is interesting because I had a totally different rationale for who I picked to be my merge boot. And I was thinking about how, like, they start targeting the big guys after the merge because it's like you don't want someone like Joe Anglim to come and, like, have an immunity streak. And then it's like it ruins all your, like, well thought out plans or whatever. So I thought that they were going to vote out John Hennigan, aka Johnny Mundo, just because he's like a big challenge threat. But I think that he's going to lose the first challenge because normally they have like endurance challenges or puzzle challenges or something. And like when you're a big guy, endurance challenges aren't as easy. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I think that's definitely something that could happen. Very warranted. I would love to see them on my TV more. I feel like my 2 tribes going into the merge are very, very David versus Goliath-y with the people that are left from the season. Definitely those stereotypes, very true for the top 12 people. My 10th place person, I have Alec from Goliath. I don't know. I felt like he makes the merge, but like early merge, because he is that kind of like attractive dude, but I think Dan's more attractive, so Alec has to go. I don't know. Hopefully people aren't playing by tribal lines and then they're willing to vote Alec out even though he is maybe part of the majority or something like that. I feel like he would be a prime early jury boot because he is athletic, he is attractive, he probably has semi-good relationships with people. But yeah, I just don't see him winning the game. And obviously with the scandal stuff, like, he's irrelevant now.
Yeah, he's uber irrelevant because he's just a generic white boy. Just saying. I said for my 10th boot that it was going to be Pat, just because, like, I feel like he's going to get pretty far in the game because he's, like, the reason it was David versus Goliath or whatever. But I'm not sure that he'll have the social skills to, like, back up what he wants to do. He just seems like he could be accidentally really intimidating to people. So
Yeah, because he is one of the more like physical looking people on the David tribe. Everyone else on David is like super skinny looking. But yeah, it's interesting. Because I was saying Pat flips and works with the Goliath tribe, because like you're even saying he maybe fits more in with the Goliath based on stature. So I have him going a little bit further because he builds an alliance with the other people rather than his original tribe mates.
Interesting. That would be like a rationale to have him go further. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So 11th boot. This is still I have as early merge, and then next is like middle merge boot. So early merge boot, I have Carl from the David tribe. I honestly forgot Carl. I still needed to place him. Similar, I guess, with Elizabeth. I don't know. I just feel like he's sort of there. He doesn't really seem that threatening. I don't know. I just don't see him going further than early merge, so he's getting voted out here.
That's great. I had Carl as like the GOAT at the end, so I feel like he could also go early merge because I feel like the GOAT type people either go at the beginning of the merge or they get dragged to the end. So it's like,
yeah, I'm just like confused because I don't know. Maybe he'll prove us wrong, but it just seems forgettable. But yeah.
yeah, I had as the 11th boot. I keep like reading my list and thinking it's like 11th place, but it's not. I had as the 11th boot, I had Jessica, just because now that like both of the tribes are together, there's significantly more like older people, and I feel like she was kind of saved by there being bigger threats, but I feel like she'd be kind of annoying and not really fit in with the older people, so they'd want her out.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting because for Jessica, both of us have her the reason for her getting voted out is because of her age. So I think that's really interesting. I don't see her winning the game. I do see her getting voted out because of her age and maybe not being able to relate with the rest of the tribe because she is younger and doesn't really have those life experiences. So that's really neat. And yeah, I don't know. Or she could be a goat to drag to the end. I feel like that she would be a good goat.
Yeah, I feel like she could also be a good goat, kind of like Will, where it's like he just kept getting further and further because like everyone knows that like the 18-year-old is not gonna win. So
yeah, so 12th boot, this was my middle merge. 12th and 13th boots are middle merge, I consider. Then top 7 is like you made it in the game. So 12th boot, I have Christian from David because I feel like at this point in time before top 7, when it really gets down to the nitty gritty, you need to trim the fat on your tribe. And with the Goliaths having a majority, and I think the strong Goliath people like Angelina, Dan, Natalie, Johnny Mundo, those kind of people are going to hopefully stick together because I think that would be such a badass alliance of powerful people and be fun to watch. But they would want to pick off the people on the David tribe or like people they aren't really working with. So I have Christian going at 12 because you'd pick him off. And I feel like Christian could be a really big jury threat because he seems like he would be very likable. And then 13th, I had Gabby since they sort of go together. And I feel like Gabby and Christian would go maybe around this point in the game because they seem more smart looking and threatening over like Nick. Even though I do think Nick is intelligent too, I feel like Gabby and Christian are just more like stereotypically nerd looking, whereas Nick can maybe hide behind his whole like Southern accent.
that is interesting because I had both Nick and Gabby going like further in the game.
Further than
12. So in 12th place, I had Jeremy just because this was the actual thing I wrote down, so I guess it must be true. It seems like he's the kind of person who would accidentally put his foot in his mouth. And so, like, I feel like he'd be, like, planning to do something, and then he'd piss people off, and then he wouldn't be able to, like, get them back on his side, so everyone would vote him out.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
It's so hard to, like, judge these kinds of things when you just have their words.
Yeah, it like on it. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, this is all sort of like willy-nilly because we don't really have that much to go off of. Who was your 13th boot?
My 13th boot was Davey, just because, like, I think that his, like, physical and social game would both, like, be suffering because, like, he's obsessed with dogs and stuff, so.
Damn, he makes it far for being someone who lacks a social game.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those situations where, like, I had other people written down and I was like, oh, shoot, Davey should probably go now because he should not get any further.
Honestly, that's what happens. Like, I had my top 11 people for, like, okay, definitely making the merge, and then I was trying to place the bottom 9, and then I'm like, frick, I keep forgetting people, so I guess they're getting voted out here. Like, they're definitely not making the merge, so we have to go somewhere in between now and then. So top 7, it's down to the wire. 14th boot, I have Kara from Goliath. I feel like she'll go far in the game just because she seems like she's going to get a lot of airtime and stuff on TV. And I think she was brought into the Goliath Alliance maybe because of her relationship with Alec. But then once Alex voted out, why keep Kara around? Because I feel like they're sort of lower on the totem pole than someone in the core alliance for Goliath. So vote her ass out.
Yeah, vote her ass out. I agree wholeheartedly. I had Nick because I said he was a generic white boy and he can leave whenever. Just because, like, I didn't see anything particularly, like, memorable about him. And so, like, I kind of just stuck him where I had room.
Interesting, because I put Nick as my 15th boot, so he's the next person I have going home after Kara, and I wrote, don't see him making it to the end based on numbers. It's time to go. So, I don't know. Maybe he is a Donathan 2.0, but at 15th for Nick, he makes the finale night. He's top 5, but or no, that's top 6 actually, so he doesn't make finale night. I'm sorry. Yikums.
Yikes. When you can't count.
Yeah, he's just so close but so far. He thinks he's 5th and makes finale, but no, he's really 6th and gets voted out one before all of those commercial previews for the finale where you get some clout.
Yep. And my 6th place / 15th boot, I had Alyssa. Like, this was another thing where I was like, oh, shoot, she should probably leave now, just because I feel like she would just annoy people and maybe get by being under the radar, maybe. But, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, oh, I had Alyssa going out way early, like pre-merge. Where was she? Oh, 7th place boot. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see her winning the game nor making it that far. So yeah, before the final 5, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll do the 5th place and then we can talk about our final 4s. But my final 5, so who makes it to finale night? Yay. I have Johnny Mundo, Angelina, Dan, Natalie, Cole, and Pat. So a powerhouse group of strong AF people, badass people. Honestly, what I would love to see in real life. I think all these people are really cool and are strong. And my 5th place person, so the person voted out first on finale night, I have Johnny Mundo from Goliath. I don't know. I hope he isn't voted out super early because he is a physical target. He's famous. He has the money. He doesn't technically need the money for personal use, whatever. But I hope he makes it far. I think he'd be good TV. And I feel like he'd get voted out first out of that final 5 because you just can't have him in the final 4 with a fire making challenge kind of thing when that's happening. So I feel like he'd get booted then. And especially if he is really athletic and proves to be athletic on the island, you don't want him accident or like, you don't want him winning the final immunity challenge and then picking.
Yeah, you definitely don't want someone like that, like in a position of power, just because, like you said, Johnny doesn't really need the money. He said he was going to buy a Corvette the size of a Hummer or something. So, like, yikes. In my 5th place, I had Natalie, just because I feel like she's going to be like a really big social threat, kind of like a Suri type. And like, people aren't going to want to let her get to the final 4 because even if she makes fire, she has a 50-50 chance of getting to final tribal council. And if you go against her, you'll lose. So,
yeah, I agree. So for my final 4, I have Angelina, Dan, Natalie, and Pat. And similar reasoning for why Natalie gets voted out is what you're saying. But who's in your final 4?
My final 4 is Angelina, Carl, Gabby, and Dan.
Okay, so we have 2 of the same 4. I will wonder if we have the same final 2 at the end of it. So I'll just go through and do the rest of my boot list from final 4 because I think that makes the most sense, and then you'll do yours. But final 4, Angelina, Dan, Natalie, Pat, 3 Goliaths, 1 David. I think final 4 fire challenge, they put up Pat and Dan up there because like 2 strong dudes. I think Pat loses and Dan wins the fire challenge. And then final 3 of Angelina, Dan, Natalie. I think Dan wins the final immunity challenge. And then same reasoning for why Alyssa voted Natalie out. I think Dan would take Angelina to final 2 over Natalie. So Natalie would go and be 3rd place. And then Angelina, Dan would be final 2 with the jury. And I think both of them hopefully will play good games, that kind of thing. But I feel like Dan, since he is such a fan favorite already, I don't know. There's something about him that people would vote for maybe. But yeah, I think Dan wins. the game. But we don't really have anything to base it on, so it's really random.
If I was Dan and I was like the 18th boot, or the 18th place person or whatever, like if he goes out really, really early, I would at least take solace in the fact that everyone seems to think that I could win for some reason.
Yeah, maybe this like fan favorite stuff around Dan is totally false and he's like first boot, but somehow since he's so attractive, everyone likes him.
I mean, not a bad legacy to have. Okay, so in my final four, I had Angelina versus Carl in the fire challenge, and I said that Angelina was going to lose and Carl was going to win. And I said that there was going to be a final three, not a final two, and that Carl was just the GOAT in the final three. And I said that Gabby was like going to have played an okay game, but she doesn't give a good final tribal performance, so Dan wins.
Interesting. With the fire challenges, hasn't it always been a final two?
I mean, weren't Wendell, Laurel, Dominic final three? Didn't they have a fire challenge?
Oh, shit. You're freaking right. Shoot.
I thought I was going insane for a sec.
I thought Laurel got voted out. You're right. It was a final three. Okay, that's interesting. If it's three, then I have Angelina, Dan, Natalie. Then maybe some things would have to change because I think that's two powerhouse of a final three. But if it's a final two, then maybe it works better. But yeah, shoot. You're right. That was definitely a final three. And then, oh, yeah. Actually, it has been final three. Heroes, Healers, Hustlers with us was a 3-2. Yeah.
Basically, Rachel just forgets history conveniently.
Yeah, yikes. I don't know. I think final two would be better. So maybe we'll see this season if it's a 2 or a 3. But yeah, both of us have Dan winning the whole shebang. So maybe that's warranted. Maybe it's not warranted. Maybe the Survivor universe of the fans is totally screwing everyone over because for some reason Dan is super popular and maybe it's not warranted. But maybe it is warranted and he's the winner. And yeah, this was difficult to do. Let us know down below if who
you think is going to win.
Yeah, who do you think is going to win? And if you have similar boot lists, first boots, that's always easy. And then winner picks. So let us know. Super interesting.
Yep, and we'll be posting more videos. Hiatus is over soon. Yay!
One more week.
Yep, and so we'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye.